Welcome to another exciting episode of AI Insights, your go-to podcast for all things artificial intelligence and machine learning. I'm your host, Stephen Tijamulia, and today we have a very special guest with us. Joining us is Rick Silva, the Vice President of Data Science at CompTIA. Rick, thank you very much for being here.
Thanks, Stephen. It's great to be with you again. We used to know each other a while back, so it's great to reconnect.
Oh, super. Very excited and to have you here. You bring so many insights. I know from the quick discussions we had, we talked about unlocking your data as a prerequisite for AI, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. But before we get started, Rick, you have a very amazing background. You've done many things throughout your career. Why don't you get started and give us a little bit more details about your journey in data science so that the audience can know kind of your perspective of where you're going to come from as you're answering these questions?
You bet. Yeah. So I've been in the industry for a few decades, and I started off with a focus on international markets and international product development within a software company. And the interesting thing about that is when you go back a few years and you look at international, we are kind of in the cusp of the world is our doorstep. We can go everywhere. Back in the day, however, all questions were new questions, and there was no easy answers anywhere. That part probably hasn't changed for a lot of what we do. Because of that, I had to rely a lot on the data that was around me, and I got pretty used to doing that to the point that I thought, you know what, let's cling to the business data, let's cling to the customer value, and I started a data science journey through systems management companies, cybersecurity companies. I've been in fintech and now ed tech, and it's been wonderful. I think the opportunities in relation to data just continue to grow, and I expect that they will.
So if you look at that journey of many years from where you started to now, how has it evolved, right? How has it evolved and where do you think it's going as, a VP of data science? You sit there and you look back at, where it was started, rudimentary to now to ChatGPT and it telling you how to do things. Give us your perspective.
So I think early on, um, there were the scenarios of the data is around us, we just don't have it in hand, and you had to do a lot of manual gathering of data. And you'll find as I continue through here, some of these things are still very relevant today. And in fact, I think some of the the work associated with working with data hasn't changed. I mean, just roll up your sleeves and get the work done. But I think there was data available. It was nearby. Some of it was in hand, and then collecting it and being able to make sense of it was a key differentiator. As the years have gone by, data has become more available. Systems have become more available. Data is gathered together in more common places, and those data sets that are relevant to the problems we're trying to solve are not far away. So you're not reaching for raw data too much anymore, although, again, that never changes. But there are large data sets that are continuing to be available. And as you mentioned, coming into the era of generative AI, it just ups the game. I mean, we continue to stand on taller and taller shoulders as we try to address the similar business needs to what we're trying to accomplish.
And in your career, what kind of breakthrough innovations have you seen with customers using data and getting results? Right? Is there any case studies you could share with us? As you said, people are, they've gathered the data they're gathering. There's still more gathering to happen, but they're trying to use it for valuable breakthrough results in their organization. What have you seen?
There's a project that comes to mind. I like to call it the Fire Distinguisher project that I did working with a customer support team. This was kind of your typical scenario of lots of customers. If you plotted those customers out either by revenue or by size or by attention, you'd have a few very large customers hugging that y-axis and then heading off into a long, long tail of smaller and smaller customers. everybody is profitable, everybody's doing well, it might seem, but oftentimes a business may get caught addressing the needs of the largest customers just because they're large. And I got looking at this long tail scenario, and I thought, if we only had a way to identify issues that were coming up, even when you're not hogging the attention of whoever's trying to serve your needs. And I found a way to create this tool. Again, I call it the fire distinguisher. It's identifying where's the spark. I mean, if you're down the long tail, you're the small customer of a very large enterprise. You might not feel like anybody knows about you, and your worries get overlooked. We as individuals, as people, do the same thing. So just using data and redefining what is normal across that entire range, I was able to abstract the size of the customer out to be able to see that anytime that there were issues that were popping up, whether you were a large customer or further down that long tail, they would spike out of what we consider normal. And it gave us the ability to proactively address needs that were constantly surfacing in an area that we weren't resourced to address them at all. But by having a way to highlight the issues that were showing up, or at least customers that were having issues, we could make proactive calls to say, hey, what's going on? We've noticed, a few extra tickets come through, for example. And it really kind of evened out the game, and it helped increase loyalty, decrease our churn rates.
And I love it. Where do you think I can see a lot of, data consolidation, multiple systems reporting on that side. Where do you think AI would take what you did in that project to the next level? Where do you see that what that solution and what you contributed in that project? Where do you see that happening in the next few years with AI?
Yeah, I think there's something that we'll probably come back to in our discussion a little bit later on. It's kind of the behavioral analytics of any of your customers or any individuals that you're working with. So in the scenario I talked about, being able to identify an issue is one thing, and that's like a snapshot in time. And I think a lot of the AI issues begin that way. It's like, can we discover things we've never seen before? And you realize that you can, but then over time, you begin to have this ability to look at how are things trending. How is loyalty? What is the trend for loyalty for an individual or an organization who may be a customer of yours? So I think going forward, what we have the ability to do is to use the benefit of time, kind of that rear view mirror, not just in, here's data we've never seen before, what do we do with it? But you've taken that step, you've implemented the AI and set up those areas of memory, right? The AI memory. What have we done in the past? We saw this as a company, we made these recommendations, and then what happened, right? Remember that you made a recommendation. Remember who accepted and who didn't, what their actions were, and to begin to see over time, how do people behave? All that leads into looking at today's behaviors and being able to predict what's going to happen next.
And do you also see where AI would be able to write the reports for management to take action or actually communicate and send emails to clients? You see that it could eventually get there in an
Sure. I mean,
automated way based on the data?
yeah. There's I mean, I look at what can AI do for us, and there's two sides. One is reduce our costs, and these are activities that we're already doing within our organizations. If you're already trying to reach out to people via email, great. We can do that in a more targeted way. Can we create content to facilitate, to speed up the outreach through whatever channel you're using, including, as you say, email. Yes, you can. So you can decrease cost for your internal operations and the activities that are currently going on. In fact, I think that's one of the greatest ways to begin is to say, what are we currently investing in with our people, with our time, our money? What are we doing today that we could either speed up or be more targeted, have greater focus, um, and to use our current level of resourcing to get greater traction. The flip side of that is the revenue side. It's can we change product development to be able to create value that we couldn't even see there was a need for before, right? And go down the area of delivering things to the market that are new and innovative.
Yeah, let me ask you a question there because we have our audience includes a lot of C-suite and executives, such as yourself. We're trying to figure out what do I do with AI. To your point, maximize revenue, lower costs, make things more efficient. There's a lot of things they could be doing, and where you sit at an executive level, how do you manage and educate the executive team on what can be done with AI, what should be done now, what should wait? Um, what kind of playbook do you have for that? And it may be a little bit off script from what we talked about, but as you brought that up, I thought that would be really good insights because people are trying to figure out what should I do right now, right? How have you framed it for your team?
Yeah, that's a tricky one because this is quite a transformation. I mean, if you look back over time, there's probably no time in history where we're going through so much data transformation and the ability to have data to help us make decisions. The problem is somewhere along that chain, you get to the human brain who's trying to take in even greater amounts of data to make a better decision or to make it faster. Um, so in the end, there's it's really, really easy to get a gap between people who've made decisions, people who've run businesses, people who've looked out onto the horizon and charted new paths ahead, and the ability that we have today and the resources to lean on. And you can open up a gap that looks a lot like, well, I don't trust the data, or this doesn't make sense to me, or I've never seen this before, or how could you possibly arrive at that conclusion? And I think that there's um, a lot of might in taking those small steps to build that trust. So, like I said, start with what you're doing today, and an existing process that you have, and make it better, and create the value out of that, create the wins from that. I think it's going to be easy for us to generate lots of things using AI and have a lot of people standing around scratching their heads going, it looks beautiful, but what do I like? Can I trust this thing?
All
And I
right.
think one, you have to build trust. Two, it has to be explainable. And I'm going to add in a quick third. There's a lot of folks out there that feel like, you know, AI or data science is like a magic wand. And if you just have some of that good stuff, the problems will go away. And it's hard work. It's math and it's science and it's business and the science of business, and it can be understood and it can be explainable, and it just the way that we used to make business decisions before. If we have enough understanding, we can make solid business decisions going ahead also.
No, I like that point. I mean, I face that as well, and day to day, where if you take your executive team and you use AI and jump too far ahead, that's great, but I don't know how the accuracy of the data. We've never done this before. There's a lot of uh, uh, skepticism, potentially, what I call it, to say, well, this should really work. But if you kind of start small, like you said, and iterate and show success and tell success stories, really very similar to early days of data science, then the belief starts happening, right? And you get more accurate, and then you start merging the gap. So I love what you just said there. Um, Skilling, it's a little different, but like training your team and you come from the training background, providing skills in this new world of AI, machine learning. What's your advice to managers who are, you know, trying to get their team skilled up so they can be more effective in this area?
Yeah, something that I lean on a lot here is clarity in the problems you're trying to solve. So there's a lot of skill, there's a lot of technology, there's a lot of innovation, but you have to be very clear about the question that you're asking and the problem you're trying to solve. You can bring in a lot of people and think you're going to solve some problem. If you haven't defined the problem well, you'll spend a lot of resources and you won't deliver the value. So it's not really a data topic. It's mostly a business topic. But be really clear. The data angle to that, though, is to say, if we know exactly, I mean, think of the scientific method, like, what are we proving? What are we disproving? If you're very, very precise on your hypotheses, your business hypotheses, then you know, one, what you're solving, and two, when you've solved it. You're able to measure when you've reached your goal. And too often, you want to make things better, but what does that mean and how far do you go? So I think it's really important to have clarity around the problem that you're solving and then to match that with the resources that you bring in, whether it's analysts or ML ops, machine learning operations, DevOps, things like that.
No, I love it because it could be, as you know, what project and problems you're trying to solve. It could be a macro level or a bigger level. That will let you know, am I, enhancing my team with more training? Am I bringing in new people? Am I outsourcing work, right? It gives you a lot of options to try to solve that problem, which may not only be a training problem.
Can I add something in there?
Yeah, please.
I mean, for what you just said, I've seen cases before where you have subject matter experts. So we have a diversity of organizations across the globe, and they're all pursuing their own passions and trying to accomplish the goals of their organization. And there's deep subject matter expertise in those organizations. That's invaluable. On the other side, to bring in a rigorous approach to data is extremely valuable also. If you can get both of those together, your subject matter expertise along with data expertise, wonderful. That's hard to do, but it's possible to work hand in hand. And as you talk about training, so this, I thought of another example of a time when there was a subject matter expertise approach and then a data approach, and you can get the same results, but you end up having a different scalability coming out the other end of that. Just remember to lean on the subject matter expertise as well as the data. Marry them together if you possibly can.
And then you can scale. Is that right?
Exactly.
Then the scaling.
Exactly.
That's a great point. As we come to the end over here of this podcast, trying to keep it 20 minutes, is there anything else you'd like to say, giving any advice to our audience around AI, data science, your expertise that you share?
Yeah, one of the things is don't try to boil the ocean. Take things one step at a time. Iterate massively. It's really easy to bog down in a solution, but with the ability that we will have to share data across the industries, and to be able to take advantage of one another's hard work. I'll put a pitch in there to say that take it that one step at a time. See the wins, lock those in place, go for the next one, lock it in place again. And we're coming into a season, I think, where we have lots of Gen AI solutions that are out there, and the key will be to take those and tailor those to our specific needs where we're headed.
Oh, great advice. Rick, it's been an absolute pleasure having you at AI Insights today. Your insights and our close relationship is invaluable. Thanks for sharing with our expertise. Very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephen.
And for the listeners, thank you for tuning in to this AI Insights episode. We will be publishing it on YouTube. We'll be taking this, transcribing it, and creating an article for our AI Insights magazine. Rick for sure will spotlight you there and your efforts, and then we will continue posting to the community. So thank you for listening, and Rick, if you stay on, we can chat just a little longer, but thanks again, everyone, for coming and participating.